Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Saphura Long, President of Gratis Technologies. This time they don't have microphones, so I'm going to try and talk really loud. But I also have to stand back here, so if you can't hear me, raise your hand and I'll speak a little louder. Thank you for... Oops, there's somebody else coming. Come on in, it's okay. Welcome to Service Drive Technology. Hopefully with this, by the end of this, I have imparted enough information to help improve your fixed operations department. So I like this slide. A lot of us have the attitude that we can fix everything. That's the attitude to have. And a lot of this discussion will hinge on something, that sort of an attitude of delivering great results. But please realize that that attitude is great, but don't overpromise and underdeliver in fixed operations. And make sure you can deliver on a promise like that. So obviously you're here because you are questioning your service department and you're seeking improvements in the fixed operations. So that's the beginning of success, ladies and gentlemen, because you're learning to question the status quo. There is an outstanding book that maybe by the time this is over, you might want to acquire and read. It's written by a gentleman by the name of Kevin Ashton, who is a very highly successful multi-billionaire entrepreneur. One of the quotes in there that I really, really like, and by the way, the book is called How to Fly a Horse. It has nothing to do with horses, it has nothing to do with flying, but it has to do how to run a very successful department of any kind. So, one of the comments that he has that's very important that I like to remember always is, if you think that sales plus consumers is equal to nothing broken, is a formula for corporate cyanide. Most big companies that die kill themselves drinking it. So be very careful about your attitude toward your dealership or your service department. All right, so when we work on a very complex machine that is not giving us results, one of the things that we do right at the onset is we need to take it to its very, very simplest components and review each component, find out what is the problem with each of them, help improve those, and then put that machine together. Ladies and gentlemen, that machine right now is your fixed operations department. So, before I started this project, and throughout the years that I have worked with 2-3 companies and over 500-600 dealerships, and having gone to Dealer Academy, I have always wondered why the name fixed operations. Why is this department called fixed operations? And try to do some serious research on that, and finally come up with an article here that is written by Don Reed in Auto Dealer Today online magazine, and the title to the meaning behind fixed operations is that they describe fixed operation as such because you don't have as many variable conditions in service and parts as you do in sales. You don't have as many variables in fixed operations as you do in sales. Ladies and gentlemen, do you think that still is true today of the service department of the millennium? That you don't have that many variable conditions? I beg to differ. That's one of those same cyanides that Kevin Ashton was talking about. I beg to differ. That is thing of the past. I believe that fixed operations is actually called that as it has delivered fixed results. This is a highly limiting name. Our expectations and the fixed results this department has earned is given it the name fixed operations. This can be a highly lucrative department. And as we get to the end of this meeting, hopefully you will see that. And we are going to, from now on, refer to it as Vehicle Maintenance and Service Department. Historically, any entity delivers the expectations of those important to them. Any entity. mediocrity brings mediocre results. When you say, I have a fixed department that delivers 50 hours per day, almost guarantees that you don't go to 60. Okay? So that's the mindset that hopefully we are going to change now. So let's find out what causes a service department to have 50 repair orders per month, and what does it take to take that to 90 hours per day? Why not? What is the issues and what are those variables that we believe they don't exist actually? So let's find out, how do we improve the number of hours per day? Before we started this, in order to come up with the correct variables, we did a research of quite a number of dealer principals and service directors and general managers, because we wanted to have actual data of people on the ground. Some of those people are here. So we asked them, what affects the number of repair orders in the service department? These were the 11 points that they brought up. Vehicle population in the market, vehicle sales by that store, owner retention, customer loyalty, what causes them to be loyal, why are we losing them, extended hours, proper marketing to lost customers, proper marketing to all the cars that are going elsewhere, competitive pricing with other companies, and the last three, technician productivity, service advisor efficiency, and last but not least, efficient marketing tools that work for service department. Now, these are all those parts that we talked about to this machine, all those variables that supposedly they're supposed to be fixed. Now we are going to review each and every one of those and come up with the solution. Then we went and asked the same group of people, okay, those are the variables that you talked about, now score them for us. Which ones are the most important that you believe affect the number of repair orders in your service department, and which ones are the least? And now you're about to see how they ordered it. Here it is. Owner retention, customer loyalty, number one. What causes them to be loyal and why are we losing them? Proper marketing to lost customers. Proper marketing to older cars that are going elsewhere. Efficient, accurate marketing tools for the service department. Vehicle population in the market. Vehicle sales by that store. Extended hour, competitive pricing, technician productivity, and service advisor efficiency. This was the order that they turned it to us. So we're going to start from the beginning of this. Owner retention, customer loyalty, what causes the customer to be loyal? The number one biggest problems that we face is that as we sell more and more and more cars, then the number of repairs going to our service department should be growing at the same rate. It should be growing exponentially. Why is it static? Why 50 hours per day? Because you sell more and more cars, right? So why are the customers on the other side walking? That's the crux of the matter. When the car comes out of warranty or whatever happens along the way, these customers are leaving. And so we keep having the 50 hours per day, we keep having the same static number, and we hang with it. So the primary problem and the number one question that first and foremost you need to answer before you get to all those other variables is, what causes the customer to be loyal and why are we losing them? So let's first attack that one. What causes them to be loyal and why is it losing them? In order again for you to grow this department, that's the number one question you have to answer. And you have to prepare yourself for this answer. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is an extremely important slide that's happening in your service department. Lack of timely communication causes separation. Lack of timely communication causes separation. I like this slide. It doesn't have any words on it, But what do you see? Two people talking at one another, one over the other's head. Ladies and gentlemen, hearing and listen does not necessarily lead to listening. And listening does not necessarily lead to comprehension. Seeing does not necessarily lead to understanding. There is a very, very interesting study, and this applies to your service department, that American Society of Psychological Association did. They brought a bunch of people and they showed them a picture. And they said, I want you to describe what this picture is. The picture was a picture of a scene where there was a boat that was red, a pretty girl with a yellow hat. Behind it was a scenery of trees, and one tree was yellow. At the same time, while this person was looking at this, they rang his cell phone and had somebody who was somewhat important to them talk about an issue of some sort. So this person was looking at the picture and talking to somebody else. On top of that scene, there was a gorilla glaring down. So then they told the guy, hang up the phone, tell us what you see. What he saw was the tree, the boat, the pretty girl with the hat. He never saw the gorilla. And when he hung up the phone and they showed him the same picture, he said, why'd you add the gorilla to the picture? He wasn't there. The gorilla was there at the very beginning. Same thing happened to a bunch of radiologists. You know, radiologists are doctors who look at cancer cells. These guys looked at the cancer cells. Some were benign, some were not. On the same slide, there was the same gorilla. Do you know, ladies and gentlemen, that none of them saw the gorilla? They did find that this cancer cell is cancerous and that one is benign, but they never saw the gorilla. Do you know why? Because they were seeing their expectations, not necessarily seeing what is there. That's the same problem with the guy with the cell phone. In your service department, you have people standing in front of a service advisor. The phone is suddenly ringing. Now, two things can happen. He can pick up the phone and talk to that guy on the phone. Just what happened? He doesn't see the gorilla in front of him anymore. Totally lost what the other guy is talking about. Or stand there and have this phone ringing, which has essentially the same effect of upsetting both of them. There are some very, very simple things that I'll impart in this that helps you. How about training your service advisor, if the phone rings, click on a button on the PBX and pass it to somebody else. Not necessarily put it on hold because you might be a customer. Pass it to somebody else. Realize that this minutia of that kind, you don't see the gorilla in front of you if you are looking at too many other things and if you are not communicating. So, American Management Association has named 5 steps for resolution of a problem. These are simple. Identify the source of conflict if your customer is unhappy. Look beyond the incident. Request solution. Identify both disputants can support an agreement. What do all of these have in common? On the bottom it tells you, in order to do any of these, you have to first communicate with that other human being, with your customer. Okay? So, what I'm pointing out more than anything else is that in your service department, lack of communication is the biggest problem. So, what causes them to be loyal and why are we losing them? Start by opening the lines of true communication and dialogue with your customers. Learn to listen, focus on somebody, as well as the fact, see the gorilla in the picture. So, next is proper marketing to lost customers, proper marketing to all the cars that are going elsewhere. Both of these, again, point toward communication. But once you have your communication under control, then this becomes very, very important. Essentially, you lost them, but how do you bring them back? There's an easy way to do it. The solution is, who are these customers? why did they leave, and what specific services we didn't provide. Ladies and gentlemen, the easiest thing to do is build your own database. This doesn't cost you any money. Go into your DMS and look at a period of time that you want to know certain customers didn't come back in. To customers who 2 years ago did service in our service department and didn't come back in. Most all DMSs will provide you that data. Very simply download it to a CSV file. This does not require rocket scientists, does not require anybody that has tremendous knowledge of technology. Just download it to a CSV file. You know the very first thing that I'll tell you, very simply, how many of them there are. What level of information do you have about them? Because you have complaints and correction is most all DMSs, what was the last service we did to them? And maybe there might be some comments that says, why did they leave? Hopefully you have also information on how to communicate with them. Building this database does not require anybody with tremendous knowledge of technology, neither does it require getting another vendor to do something for you. You can do this yourself. Okay? So, you must build this database and first figure out how many of them there are and why they are leaving. This will also apply to your future services and what's happening in your service department with other customers. So, next is, once you have built your database, just put some very, very simple, ladies and gentlemen, service drive technology is important, but some of these that I'm talking about will get you tremendous results, and they're very, very simple. You can do it with everything you got right now at your own dealership. You just have to start paying attention to minutia. For example, using that same little database you built, you can communicate to your customers through that database. But put certain simple standards in place. Never call a customer by dear valued customer. Make sure that you don't send information to a customer about a car that you traded in at your own dealership. You know what? That's also in your DMS, and you should be able to know that. Okay? Last but not least, if you are going to send a message to Dear John, make sure that you don't sign your name at the bottom as Mr. Sam Smith, Director of Service at blah, blah dealership. Pay attention to minutia. These are very, very important things. You can spend thousands of dollars on heavy-duty stuff, whatever you buy, in here. But the fact of the matter is that more importantly, you have at your disposal a lot of tools that you can use to right now improve your service department. So, now, I like this slide too. Efficient, accurate marketing tools that work specifically for service department, that's a little bit of a tough nut to crack. That's a little bit of a harder thing to do. Marketing tools, meaning that having the tools to truly market to this customer, but you can communicate to them very well yourself. Now, why is it a little bit of a tough nut to crack is because the tools you have at in your dealership right now don't really enable you to do marketing per se, okay? Marketing means proper communication to the customer. You can communicate to them about what was before, but proper marketing tools are a little bit more difficult. Your CRM is a bit of a problem in that, because the biggest problem with CRM is that, and I had a CRM company for many, many years, was the fact that it's extremely difficult to keep data clean in CRM. You know why? Because people hand enter data, and then there is DMS import that comes on top of it. And the two of them, no matter how good a database management person you are, it's almost impossible to merge them together. Some of you are smiling here, realize that. It's very, very difficult. So what happens is that the guy sold his car at your dealership. There's one record under him that he came in the dealership. There's another DMS record that says he sold, and so the problem is that you don't know that he sold the car. You end up sending a marketing message to him. That is not proper marketing done, okay? So you're almost better off working off of that Excel sheet of your own, than, some of these other systems. So Next point of variables was vehicle population in the market. Well, frankly, I'm not sure how you can really affect that. I mean, you are really selling cars, I'm sure. You are selling more and more of the cars, and the problem is not that you don't have customers coming into service department. This would address how many people coming in. Your bigger problem is the ones that are going out on the other side, and that's what the bleeding is that we have to stop. So, next is vehicles sold by that store. It is very important, the number of cars you sell. And you have to understand that sometimes you say, well, how does service department has anything to do with that? Service department has a lot to do with that. Because although they might love the experience of buying a car at your dealership, service department is the place that more relationships are built and just as many are destroyed. So if the relationship with the service department is not good, you end up losing the customer just the same. So you have to be careful of the experience held there. So communicate to your customers every single time after every single transaction. Make it your mission to work hard to assure lines of communication are open. Make it your mission that more than one person touches that customer. Make it your mission to pay attention to reputation scores. Ladies and gentlemen, a lot of customers search you on the web. Make sure you have reputation scores for service department and that they are accurate. And this one is extremely important. Test your own systems at your dealership. A lot of times people get irked and don't come back because of very simple things. Call your dealership, see how many times people respond to the cell phone, to the call. See how many times the phone rings in front of somebody. See if the service advisor picks up the phone while he's working with somebody else. And last but not least, set a service appointment online at your own dealership. See how quickly you get response from your dealership. See how many clicks you have to do. Ladies and gentlemen, you are entrepreneurs yourself. You're running a department. The bottom line, you got to sign those checks. If your OEM tells you to use certain systems and those systems don't give you result. If a customer calls the service department and says, hey, Jimmy, I want to set an appointment, and Jimmy should say, well, ma'am, love to, you know we have online system. Answer might be that, well, I like to hear your voice, I want to come see you, you set an appointment for me. Fine, we set an appointment. That's okay. But if he says that, the online system you have is killing me. I have to click 40 different clicks. I have to go through a labor opcode system of 200 before I can get results, then that's you got a problem there. That's part of the reason why the customer is getting irked. If your OEM is requiring you to use some systems, and there are some good systems around, test it. If the doggy isn't eating the doggy food, then you got to get another dog food. Okay? If your customer doesn't like your online appointment system and he ain't using it, you know, go get yourself another one. You can still retain the one that your OEM is telling you. Now you have two of them. But the second one might be the one that gives you results. Okay? So remember, one of the online technology tools that's important to your consumer base is simplicity of use of appointment setting. Make sure you have a system that easily allows people to set appointments. Okay? So, extended hours are extremely important. You should have that. Obviously, you don't want your service department to be closed when your customers want to come in. So do a little research around you, see what's happening. So make sure that the hours are available, and always, and also pricing. This is very important. Don't go asking your 20 group what are good pricing for your service department. Look at companies around you. Look at people around you. What are they selling blah, blah service for? You have to be competitive in your county, in your city, with the OEMs that you are providing service to. You have to be careful about that. Your payment system has to be that way. And also, be careful, come up with all the systems that make the life for your customer easier. Remember, that's an extremely important thing. All right, now, next is the factors that affect your technician's productivity. This is, again, National Business Research Institute has come up with these 5 points. They're extremely important. They apply to other people, too. First and foremost is attitude is everything. A major OEM did research and actually sent people to the dealership to give tests to employees of the service department to find out about attitude. You know that thing about a rotten apple in the basket? Attitude is everything. An employee that is complacent, does not really enjoy their work, but is simply there for a paycheck, usually does not produce at a high level, develops bad attitude, and generally drags the whole team down. You have to realize that if you have a bad attitude person, you first counsel them, you find out what is the problem, and if you cannot get anywhere with them, then realize that sometimes those might be some good reason for separation. Secondly is, gosh, I know a lot of you guys are bosses. Boss could be the barrier here. Realize that the attitude that you have, just like with little children, transmits to your employees. Be careful of your attitude. A recent poll found that, among other things, an employee's productivity is determined by the relationship with their immediate supervisor. That poor management can be a problem. Realize that if you need to talk to somebody or have problems with them, call them in. Don't talk in front of everybody else. And test yourself, See how you're doing. When you're angry, when you're upset, don't go back with the technicians and start yelling. I know that they might be at fault, but realize that these little minutiae makes a big difference at your dealership. Third is productivity in sickness and in health. Ladies and gentlemen, look at that last one. Estimate shows that 18 to 20 million Americans aged 19 to 64 are not working due to disability. And a total of 407 million days of time is lost. Okay? Do things that help them stay healthy. I have got clients that give flu shots, provide flu shots, and maybe some of you do, Provide counseling on smoking. Provide counseling, buy them, exercise, pay toward the exercise contract at the gym so that they get to go exercise. This is extremely important for technicians especially. Get them out, get them moving. They're back there in that hole on top of those machines and all that. Get them moving, get them out. Keep your employees healthy. It's costing you money when they are not. Next is, it's the tech tools, stupid. I didn't say that, they said it, by the way. So, Intel, the world's largest semiconductor maker, found that wireless notebook PC users increased their productivity by 100 hours per year. Because what did it do? It allows them to be mobile. Remember that the cars of today are computers. And you need to make sure that your technicians and your employees have all the tools at hand that they can communicate with the customer, that they can detect the problem, that they can pass that communication to the customer quickly, easily, and simply. There are systems that help you do that, okay? I can't get into all of that, but you can go for yourself and find it. The fact that be able to communicate with customer quickly, have the tools at their hand. Those tools are extremely important. If you are hamstringing them because they don't have the tools, that's going to affect your productivity in the service department also. Next is downsizing and outsourcing. Don't ever get rid of an employee just simply because of improving the bottom line at your department. That's a bad idea, because the move to save money is going to cause you a lot of problems with the other employees. Number one is they start looking around. They think that they are next. It doesn't matter that they might have been the very fantastic one and the guy you got rid of was not. And no matter how much you communicate that with them is a problem. If you are downsizing or outsourcing, you're going to have a bit of a problem in that you have to then attend to the attitude of the rest of your employees. And this is a problem with technicians especially. You get rid of one technician, what you just do? Remember, you have those 50 ROs that we have been talking about. The other technician is going to have to work on them, right? So now you just double that guy's work without giving him resources to do that. What's going to happen? Quality of his work is probably going to go down. And what's going to happen then? It's going to lead to customer dissatisfaction. What's going to happen then? All the work of trying to raise the number of customers just went down the tube. Okay? So pardon me, don't just downsize because you're trying to improve the bottom line. So, and watch what you're doing. Next is our dear service advisor. Service advisor efficiency. Again, the automotive management network indicates the following affect the service advisor's efficiency. Number of rows written per day, quality of the information captured on the RO, understanding shop loading, communicating the readiness time from a place of knowledge, revenue generated, total revenue per day, understanding the types of repairs that generate revenue, revenue generated from jobs that contain customer pay, and most importantly about all the things we have talked about, customer satisfaction. Remember that if the service advisor could single-handedly affect the number of repairs at your dealership, we wouldn't be talking 45 minutes about everything else. So he's not the only actor that's really going to affect your result of your fixed operations, but he's an important actor in this. Okay? So, remember that for your service advisors, training becomes extremely important. So, we start with number of repair orders written per day. I'm not sure how a service advisor himself per se can affect that. If he could just change the number of rows written per day, we wouldn't be discussing all of this. But that would be an easy thing to tackle. Second is, this is extremely important, the quality of information on the repair order. Remember, if you were talking about building that little database, if you don't have email address, if a customer wants to be contacted via text and you don't know that, if a customer wants to be contacted via text and the cell number isn't there, a lot of problems happens with bad, or what was the problem with the car exactly? What did he write down exactly as the problem? Was he seeing the gorilla in front of him? Did he pay attention to what was being conveyed to him? Proper information. This guy is the guy that gets the information. And if he messes up, then you have bad information which leads to all those other problems we talked about. Train him to hear, train him to see and understand. Because, ladies and gentlemen, the consumer of today is different. Realize that the reason we are hammering this minutia is because your customer of today demands that you pay attention to minutia, or he's going to go somewhere else. The millennials are especially about that. Pay attention to detail. Everybody else is doing it. Why can't you do it? Okay? In the automotive world, why aren't we doing that? So, customer is a great deal of time communicates, and we need to have that in there so that we can figure out time on customer satisfaction. So, 3 is understanding shop loading. He really needs to understand that there is 5 cars back there, and a lot of them have this and that and the other going on. And Mrs. Smith, no matter how much I want to make her happy, and she wants her car by 3 o'clock, there's no way this car is going to get done by 3 o'clock. So if I say 3 o'clock, based on what's back there, all this does is causes unhappiness with Mrs. Smith. I am better off biting the bullet and not getting the car to come in if it has to be done by 3 o'clock. So hand him tools. Number 1. He has to have tools that helps him figure out what's in the shop easily and comfortably, okay? Without having to go through a lot of rigmarole and hard work. Your DMS might not quite do that, but there are tools that do that. He needs to be able to promise a time that the car is ready based on a place of knowledge, okay? So your service advisor needs to have another one of the technologies that is important in this department is something that enables the service advisor to communicate with the customer easily and quickly. And number two is enable him to be able to make an educated guess on what's in the shop. All right. Revenue generation is important. Total revenue per day. He needs to understand type of repairs, not to put repairs on that are needed, but if there is a repair that has customer pay with it, it would be nice if he brought that up first. He needs to again understand those. So what all of this tells you a little bit about service advisor. Service advisor is a very important person. But technician, is other than salesman, technician and salesman are the two people who bring money in the company, right? Service advisor can kind of mess that up along the way unless he understands the whole view of the service department. So when you get a service advisor, guys, if you want success in that department, he needs to be properly trained. And he does need to have the tools that are needed. Most importantly, customer satisfaction needs to be calculated for a service advisor. This is not a difficult thing to do. Remember at the onset we said, learn to communicate with every single customer and find out what was their experience at your dealership. 10% of your customers, which is a really high number, usually respond to that. Learn to calculate a satisfaction score. Another thing is, on that time that I was talking about communication, there's a lot of dealerships that have tied compensation of a service advisor to accuracy of information collected. That is becoming very, very important. You might want to consider that. Another thing is tying the comp to customer satisfaction. Who says that only the dealership should have customer satisfaction score? Anybody along the way can. And coming up with a satisfaction score for an employee is not a difficult thing to do. You certainly can do that. Okay? And this is outside the scope of this meeting, but you can come up with variables to score them. It's not that difficult a thing to do. So, now, I wonder if you guys feel like I've been feeding you from the fire hose. But, not to worry, the test is coming. Is everybody ready to take a test? No, I'm joking. I'm just, oh, you have been taking pictures. So, to recap this, owner retention and customer loyalty as a number one. Retain the owner base grows your service department. Remember, you need to grow that owner base. Learn to communicate. Proper marketing to lost customers. You got to proper marketing doesn't mean go buy a huge, very expensive system and go do something big. Pay attention to that little database that you built. If the guy turned the car in at your dealership, you can't figure that out from your DMS. Proper marketing means, and you don't need to go hire a marketing professor to come and work for your dealership. That's not what I'm recommending either. Proper marketing could be very simple. Don't send a message that says, bring a car that you already turned over at your own dealership. Proper marketing means all those things I talked about. Addressing the customer properly. Proper marketing means don't send a message to a Ford customer that has to do with Chevrolet. Those are not difficult. Those are just very, very basic, simple, and one employee at your dealership can do that. Marketing tools, that's a different story. It's a little bit more difficult to do. But you can do a lot of things without the marketing tools to get there. Once you graduate from college, you can get your PhD. That's the PhD level. Efficient, accurate marketing tools, the same thing. Population in the marketplace, guys, keep on selling is all I can tell you. Vehicle sales from that store, make sure you keep on selling. Extended hours are important. Competitive pricing that fits to your area. Technician productivity, we just spent half an hour talking about them. and service advisor efficiency are extremely important, both of them. Those are two factors that can make or break you. And those are the things we talked about, are simple, everyday, common things that huge companies have spent thousands and millions of dollars trying to address that. Because you know what, ladies and gentlemen, you know what service department is about? People serving people. Technology is important. But if you don't pay attention to the people serving people, no matter how fine the technology you buy for your dealership, when that guy doesn't see the gorilla in the picture, you have a problem. Okay? So, understand that this is primarily when on the onset, people serving people. The most successful companies and automobile dealerships are those that come across to the consumer as a service organization in sale. When you send marketing stuff, once or twice, just send something that has nothing to do with you selling. Something to do with, it is really good to make sure that technology and all the research says that if you make sure that your child is seat belted in the car, you have less chance of child getting hurt. Simple thing like that. When you send a message like that 2 or 3 times, and the customer gets used to seeing that, they say, wow, automobile dealership that really cares about me. Then the next time when you send some marketing that has something to do with selling, they pay attention to that. It doesn't get over the head, gone overhead. So, service part and maintenance department is a highly lucrative and complex environment that should and deliver recurring revenue. Does anybody know what recurring revenue is? Companies that have recurring revenue model are like Reynolds and Reynolds, ADP, a lot of vendors that produce services to you. They charge you 20 grand a month no matter what. Okay? That money is coming in. Service department should be delivering enough that completely support your dealership. What do you call 100% absorbent? You shouldn't even accept 100%. You should be 120, 30, 40% absorbent. See? Meaning that if you don't sell a single solitary car in your service, in your dealership, this dude ought to be paying for all the expenses and be profitable. And it can and it should. Okay? So, how do we get to all of this? I guess it's going to feel probably at the beginning like drinking from that fire hose. But always break it down to a simple. You just heard what are the components. I mean, this slideshow will be all over if you wanted. You have to take pictures. You saw the components. Go take those components, and those are not something that I'm saying. Is reviews of a lot of research from all across the world. Look at those components and break it down in that way. And see how you rank in all of those. What's happening at your dealership. And how you can put it back together. So, remember, another thing is, remember to have the courage to think outside the box. Remember that appointment setting tool that I was talking about? That doesn't necessarily work. The doggy doesn't eat the doggy food. Customer doesn't use it. A lot of times they don't use it because it's not user-friendly. Break it down. Make it simple. Make something yourself if you want to. Something that people can use. Okay? When the customers keep constantly calling your dealership, have the service advisor ask, or whoever sets appointment, why are you calling us? Do you not know the thing is there? Okay? And if the thing is broken, fix it. Just because your website is over there in the la-la land, it really isn't. Test yourself. See what's happening. Think outside the box. Remember, you are responsible for that department. Just because somebody tells you to do this and that doesn't necessarily mean you should. Okay. On that book, How to Fly a Horse, again, this is another quote. Beginner's mind is not the mind of a beginner, but the mind of a master. It is an attention beyond the selection and blindness of expertise. I know it all. One that notices everything without assumption. An example of that, ladies and gentlemen, who that is? Steve Jobs made computers all the time, right? Computers. He suddenly thought, this flip phone we got, This stupid flip phone? Why should a phone just be a phone? Why can't a phone be a computer? And now you know the history of all that. The very first time he did it, we had the antenna that went around and the thing wasn't working. He fixed it, he fixed it, he fixed it. The first time you put your systems together, ain't gonna work. You fix it, you fix it, you fix it. There is no magic bullet here that will do everything for you. This is a highly complex and difficult department. You're gonna have to break it down and come up with the solutions in it. So, how many ROs you want? How much money do you want to generate? It's a very wrong place to start the project. We don't know how many ROs we want. We don't know how much money we want to generate. We want as many ROs as we can get, and we want as much money as we can generate, would be the answer there. But you start with, how many loyal, happy customers do I want? And how am I going to get there? That's the answer to the problem. If you manage that more than anything else, and then take care of those peripheral variables we talked about, you will have success. Help, where do I begin? Well, good luck. I hope I have imparted enough information that will help you with that. Now I am open to any questions, comments. Anybody would like to throw something at me, be glad to respond to it. Anybody? Yes, go ahead.
Touch upon what might be required by different manufacturers. Have more than one dealership. How do you keep that all in focus while you're trying to satisfy the requirements of different manufacturers?
Well, you're very correct in that, and that's what I was talking about. When you have multitude of manufacturers, and a lot of you guys do have that, you do have to deal with that. But again, realize that sometimes you can't afford some of the systems that are told you to use. Simple as that. And you can't afford the money they're giving you, really. I mean, you could go ahead and use, again, the food that the doggy will eat. I'm not saying that you go dump all your manufacturer requirements. You have to do that. You're a franchisee dealer, and you have signed contracts. But ladies and gentlemen, there is a lot of things that you can do on your own side that would help you anyhow. Any other questions? Did you have? Any other questions, comments, anything? Great. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it greatly. Thank you.